This conference will now be recorded.
Oh, he's on.
He's on.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure. Call it to order. Roll call, Shannon.
Mayor Trujillo,
Here.
Commissioner Butcher,
Here.
Commissioner Compost,
Here. Here.
Mr. Gandy,
Here.
Mr. Bolt.
Here. Commissioner Butcher will lead us in prayer and pledge. Get you all about here, please. Our loving Heavenly Father, we've come to you this evening asking for your blessings and help as we're gathered together. We pray for your guidance in the matter at hand and ask you, Lord, that you bless this city to prosper on. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I
Salute the flag of the state of New Mexico, the seal symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures.
Thank you. We have a motion to approve the agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda with two removals. One being resolution 2021-75, approval of the first quarter DFA reporting. And second being resolution 2021-76, approval of first quarter budget adjustments.
Second that. Motion was made by Commissioner Gandy, second by Commissioner Butcher. Is there any discussion? There's no discussion, roll call, vote, Shannon.
Commissioner Compost,
Yes. Yes.
Commissioner Bolt,
Yes.
Commissioner Butcher,
Yes.
Mr. Gandy,
Yes.
Mayor Trujillo.
Yes. Do you have a motion for the minutes?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for consideration of minutes, regular minutes of September 13th, 2021, and the work session minutes of September 16th, 2021.
Second. Motion was made by Commissioner Gandy, second by Commissioner Bolt. Is there any discussion of the minutes? There's no discussion of the minutes, roll call, vote, Shannon.
Commissioner Bolt,
Yes.
Mr. Gandy,
Yes.
Commissioner Compost,
Yes.
Commissioner Butcher,
Yes.
Mayor Trujillo.
Yes. Minutes are approved. I've got a proclamation this evening to read for the, who's here with us to accept the proclamation? Yes, sir. So what it is, General Aviation Appreciation Month, whereas the Lovington and the state of New Mexico have significant interest in continued pursuit of the general aviation aircraft manufacturing, aviation educational institution, aviation organization, and community airports. And whereas general aviation and the Lee County ZIP Franklin Memorial Airport have an immense economic impact on the city of Lovington. And whereas general aviation in 2016 New Mexico Airport Plan System Update, and whereas general aviation not only supports New Mexico's economy, it improves our overall quality of life, supporting emergency medical and health services, law enforcement, firefighting, and disaster relief investments in sustainable fuels and technologies, and investments in innovative experimental technology like virtual takeoff, landing vehicles, and by transporting business travels to their destination quickly and safely. And whereas these aircraft and our network of airports represents a national public benefit, and congressional oversight should be in place of this system to ensure it remains a public system and serves community of all sizes. And whereas general aviation has been deeply impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, causing impact on operation jobs, independent industry sectors and communities. And whereas general aviation stands to be at the forefront of all over the economic recovery. And whereas the United States faces a shortage of aviation professionals, leaders should invest in the critical infrastructure to ensure future economic growth and our next generation of aviation professionals and pilots. And now therefore, I, David Trujillo, Mayor, City of Lovington, do hereby proclaim general aviation a virtual strategic asset to the City of Lovington and declare October as General Aviation Appreciation Month. Okay, moving on to Commissioner and Staff report. Shannon,
I have nothing to report.
does the board have anything for Shannon? Moving on to Treasury.
All I have is that we got the grant agreement for the senior center, which is the amount of $59,000. We have signed it and sent it off, so hopefully we get that money back to start working on some repairs and maintenance on the senior center. That's all I have.
Is there any questions for Mr. Goss?
Yes, I have a few questions.
Yes,
Anthony, do we have any figures for cash balances?
as in right now, as in like the most
yeah.
recent ones, most recent ones. The one I sent you on the email is the most recent one, cash balances of the expenditures and the revenues.
The number from,
Sorry?
the number from,
From July 1st to September 3rd. I haven't done all of September yet because it's not done yet, so y'all have it next commission meeting.
okay, and the debt services that are due in November, do we have any of that money in the budget?
Is it budget? Yes, sir. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, the money, yeah, it's in, we budgeted, yes, sir. Yeah.
Thank you.
Treasury jobs, we did indicate that since month ends, at the end of every month, we always like on second meeting.
Yeah, second meeting, yes.
Yeah, you don't have to have the first.
Yes.
I mean, you're,
I just
you
give
got
you-
that information already, it's Commissioner Bo,
Mhm.
we're going to make that presentation.
Yeah.
If needed here at the board, this gives you 15 days, 2 weeks to
Exactly.
gather information and present.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, I usually just give you all the first meeting, I usually give you all the same thing, the same numbers, but the second one is always the most recent at the end of the month. So, yes, sir. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Is there any other questions for Treasury Dodd? Thank you. Chief?
Mayor and Commissioners, I attended last week the fire service conference. I was sitting on the board for the Fire Chiefs Association. I got voted in for the president-elect position, so I will be representing Wilmington on that board, as well as in the next couple of weeks, I sit on the New Mexico Fire Grant Council, and they're charged with taking all that funds that was instead of being rolled over, it got thrown back into the grant fund, and so I'll be helping decide on those grants. So it'll be a busy couple of weeks for me here in a little bit. Other than that, that's all I have at this moment.
Is there any questions for Chief?
No questions, but the recommendations.
Thank you.
How's the senior citizen?
As far as we have Faye in the audience to kind of talk about the ICIP stuff, but as far as I've been aware of, everything's been rolling operationally the same.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Bo,
Nothing at this moment.
Commissioner Bernard.
Nothing at this moment, sir.
Commissioner Copples?
Yes, sir. Mayor, if somebody could give an update on the Nmdot construction project? I know it's early in the beginning of it, but do we have any information on that?
Mr. White, address that.
Commissioner Campos, we did meet with Constructors Inc. in New Mexico DOT last week. We do have some current conflicts with water and sewer that we are negotiating with DOT and Constructors Inc. and Pettigrew and Associates, who did our design on the water line replacement. We have not heard anything since last Wednesday when we did have that meeting, but they are moving forward with the first phase for the New Mexico 18 reconstruction. And currently right now, I know there was a letter or a press release gone out for resurface from Avenue F heading to the railroad tracks south on New Mexico 18. It's a 3-week project. They're going to come in and put about 1.5 inches to 2 inches of hot mix on the top to protect that road surface and kind of take care of some of the major cracking and everything until they move forward on the next phase of the reconstruction.
Thank you, White. Can you advise what those conflicts were, and are we going to be able to iron those out?
Yes, sir. We had actually the way that they designed or the scheduling for the water line replacement and the different phases. It puts our water line, our current water line, in conflicts with some of the inlet piping for the drainage. So they will have to reroute our current water line at the same time of replacing the water line. There is some conflicts with the storm drain in our current sanitary sewer that they are trying to work out as well.
All right, thank you very much, White. I appreciate that. That's all I had, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Combs. Also on that note, I know that has been working with DOT as well on ensuring that the cost doesn't increase. We've had a couple of hiccups on some water lines, mapping them out. So I'm hoping that we don't have any cost increase. How's that working out thus far? You got any feedback on that?
I have not, Mayor and Commissioner, I have not got any more feedback from New Mexico DOT or direction. I know that WH Pacific, the main design, they were going out for an RFI in conjunction with Constructors Inc. on their preliminary or their utility assessment that identified all those conflicts. So we have not heard anything back from WH Pacific or New Mexico DOT on that.
Yeah, just note that it involves our water lines and the drainage system, the depth. The depth, they're lacking depth, so we're trying to compensate for it. And they did mention cost, and we're trying to prevent that from any additional cost to the city level. Okay. Commissioner Gandy?
I don't have anything to say.
Appreciate it. I have a couple of announcements to make. Just received 2 letters of resignation from Mr. Wyatt, Public Works Director, and Chief David Rodriguez, who is also sits on the executive board. Both of them sit on the executive board. They have given me prior to this meeting their resignation of their positions. And with the city of Lovington, and they did give me their 2 jobs. David?
Nothing tonight, sir.
Chief David?
Yes, since you mentioned that, I was just going to go ahead and say I appreciate everybody for the last 21 years in public safety. It's been an honor to serve. So I'm still here. I'll be here available to assist you with whatever needs to be done. The only reason it is for personal issues that I have going on that I have addressed.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor,
Any questions? Yes, sir.
you said those resignations are for the executive position only, is that correct?
No, sir, for their employment with the city of Lovington, sir.
Both chiefs?
No, Chief David Rodriguez and White Duncan, Public Works Director.
They're leaving the city, is that correct?
That is correct.
Understood. I do want to thank you, gentlemen, for your service. It is greatly appreciated. I hate to hear that you're leaving, but I'm sure you have your reasons. So, but we do appreciate everything you contributed to the city. Thank you.
Sir?
Thank you, Commissioner. Is there any question for Chief Rodriguez? No question for Chief Rodriguez, Public Works Director White Duncan.
Mayor and Commissioners, as was said, my 2-week notice will be effective on October 8th as far as my last day. Same thing, moving on from my family and health and everything else, but 15 years, greatly appreciated, and I'm still here to help out.
Appreciate it. White. Is there any questions from the board? Questions from the board? City Attorney Patrick Mann.
Mayor and Commissioners, nothing new to report.
Any questions for Patrick? There's no questions for Patrick. Moving on to public comment. Anybody having? Just state your name when you get to the podium.
My name is Carolyn Selby. I've lived in Lovington for over 40 years. I have never heard of a mess. I don't know what's going on. I've heard several different explanations of what has happened to our city. And what it boils down to, it sounds like you 5 commissioners need to be replaced because you all weren't aware or didn't care or whatever what happened with our city manager and our finance director of a small city. We're 10,000 people. And I still haven't had an explanation from anyone as to whether the money was stolen, just misappropriated, why the state auditors were not called into the city. I had heard that you were acting city manager. I don't think that's allowable as a commissioner as well. Then I heard, and I hate to see David leaving. I think he's been a great chief of police, as Mr. Duncan with the water department. If you all are on Facebook at all, you see how upset Lovington is basically with you 5 because of what has happened to our city. I want to make a recommendation of a lady or city manager that has worked for the city for years in several different departments. She was city clerk. Her name is Carol Ann Hode. She is not a miracle worker, but she is very bright. She knows what the city needs. She knows what has happened in the past. She's worked under 5 or 6 different city commissioner managers, as well as city commissioners. And like I said, I would still like to see a full explanation as to what has happened and why we're in this mess that we're in. When you read on Facebook that people are getting $600 water bills, and y'all's response is, well, talk to Mr. Duncan. We need a city manager that they can go and talk to, not a department head. You all should have an answer. What happened with James Williams and whoever the finance guy was? Where is the money? We were not broke when he took the job. Did you all not question him at all when he handed you papers for appropriations for payments? Did any of you ask him a question, or did you just say, that sounds great to me? Let's sign it over, type up the minutes, and we're done? I'm sorry. I think all of you need to be replaced. Unless you can get your act together and give us, the citizens of this little town, an answer for why we are where we are. And like I said, the recommendation, she's been with the city, she's worked in different departments. She's a very bright woman. Like I said, she's worked with several different city managers. I think that needs to be a high consideration instead of bringing somebody in from God knows where that don't give a hoot and a holler about Lovington, New Mexico. Now I'm going to calm down and sit down and listen to you all.
Appreciate you. Does anybody else have a thought? Any other public comment? Okay, there's no further public comment. Moving on to non-action items. C properties.
Yes, sir. This item was requested to put on the agenda by yourself and Ms. Robin. Is he reading? Oh, here. So it'll be you, sir.
Okay. Okay, this, on discussion of road name change between Main Street and Love in Washington, the recommendation was made by myself on approaching the board, and even in between Love Street and Washington, on Washington and Main. So it'd be what I'm referring to is Tippleman and Crutchfield's office right there, directly in front of the office. Call that little section right there, which is a 1 block radius, Templeman and Crutchfield Boulevard. Both gentlemen have been with the city for quite some time. They never moved their bar association with their attorney association to any other city other than Lovington. Been very supportive of the city of Lovington. They participated in many organizations. Both of them were also enlisted in the military. Mr. Crutchfield was in the Marines, and Mr. Templeman was in the Army. They both have graduate degrees. They've really supported Lovington in many areas, put Lovington on the map. And I really appreciate everything they really have done for Lovington. And I could go on and on. I did send the Board of Commissioners on their accomplishments here locally. They were, like I said, also club members in some of the organizations, Park Country Club, as well as the Rotary Club and so forth. And they really did a lot for the community. And what I wanted to do is recognize some of our leaders in our community that have played a major role in our community, and as well as show great leadership and support for our community. As a young child, I saw it growing up, and I really appreciate everything they've ever done. And I was asking the board on this, and like I said, I emailed the board both their resumes and so forth, and look forward to maybe next board meeting making an action item and seeing where we go from that point. And I'll see if there's any discussion this evening based on that.
I would say no. For one reason, it's a single block. Second reason, every business on that block has to change all their paperwork, their billing. No, I don't mean any disrespect to these two people, but I truly stand against that for one block. If we want to build a new street, be more than glad to put the name on a new street. But on that particular street, taking the name of the president off and putting someone else, I just have an issue with it. So
It would be still Washington Street. That little section would be full.
it's not really a boulevard, it's just a street. Doesn't classify as a boulevard, doesn't have a center median. So I'm going to just say no.
Thank you, Mr. Heath.
Was that have to be replatted?
I'm not sure if it's not going to be an issue. We've done it once before for Reiner.
And how does that affect the businesses as far as the post office?
All that I have to change.
That would be probably, just that's one city block, which would be right there adjacent, be on the north side of the courthouse. And also, our Attorney General talked about the District Attorney General also gave a thumbs up on it. I did talk to her. She was in favor of doing it. She had talked to other individuals about it prior to me bringing it up, and I did bring it up to her. And she did also like the idea, and I don't think she shared this. She had a late court date.
I'm sorry, but you all sound like Congress
Ma'am.
renaming an airport.
Ma'am, you cannot speak. Thank you. Is there any further discussion on it? There's no further discussion, we'll move on to the next item. David?
Yes, sir. I'll turn this over to Wyatt. This is Wyatt's department.
Mayor and Commissioners, as you see, as far as a couple of cemetery drafts for the fee structures. First document on the contract side, the contract, not sure why it did not mark it red for the draft, but the only two things that were changed on this document were that if payment is not received in full within 6 months, the current document states that the city of Lovington also reserves the right to terminate this contract if the payment is not received in full as stated above. We did change it that a lot of these contracts that are signed, after talking with Shannon and Oscar, that a lot of people take years and years to pay these off. We do not have nothing in the contract that states that they have a certain time period to pay this off. So changing the wording that it'll have to be paid off in 6 months, paid off in full, or reverts back to the city of Lovington at no cost for us sending out any notifications or anything. The other thing that was changed, instead of the 20%, it is 25% for a down payment, and lieu in the event of the burial, full payment for any space will need to be paid off in full, as currently the document states. In the secondary document, it actually, cemetery rules for monument placement and cemetery fees. On there, it does state, or it shows the changes in red. Currently, it showed that cement is not a requirement at this time, but strongly suggested. After talking with Oscar and just the alignment of the graves and the placements of the headstones and everything, just more of the current sections that we're going to, the cemetery or cement is going to be required. Requirement of 5 foot by 2 foot by 6 inch thick pads, cement pad under each headstone / monument, cost at $247.50. Oscar did reach out to Sadler and Sons, who are the monument people, or that place the monuments up in Hobbs, New Mexico, and they gave us a letter that was sent to us, and to whom it may concern, we have been asked to get an approximate bid on concrete plunges for memorial installations for the city of Lovington Cemetery. And as stated, that for the 5 foot by 2 foot by 6 inch thick pad, it'll be $247 per space. And that was directly from Sadler and Sons. The secondary, during one of the workshops or during the previous discussion, the monument marker setting and a monument marker / marker setting fee permit cost of $30. Currently right now, we do not have any kind of a monument setting fee. So when Oscar does go out there, or anybody we actually have to go out there and mark the headstone where they need to be placed. They can't just go out there and right at the head of they actually have to be marked. So currently at the foot of it or at the head of one, so we know exactly where they need to be placed, so we don't dig into anything when they open and do an interment for services. So we're asking for a $30 cost for the permit on that. At the very bottom of the page, it shows our current lots are 300, our infant lot is 75, and a recording of the deed fee, which is 25, that when they come and get the space and pay for it, Shannon does send into the county. It is for the $25 deed change or recording deed for that lot. The proposed fees, we're asking for a standard lot to go up to 500, for a standard lot and infant up to 100. Monument setting fee is shown above for 30. A transfer of deed for 25. And as far as the transfer of deed, if a family comes in and they own 4 spaces and currently they only have 2 of those spaces occupied, they can actually come in, or they can sell them to an individual. Currently right now, we do not have anything that Shannon will have to to record that and transfer that deed over into somebody else's name. So we're asking for a transfer fee or transfer of deed fee of the 25 and still the same recording of the deed for 25. If there's any other changes, we can definitely, I'll mark them down and we can do a secondary draft.
Dwight, what is the total cost of that? Total cost of all fees?
Total cost of an increase?
Yes, sir.
It's 225. $370 of an increase in fees.
We said 400, is that what we talked about last time?
For the lot fee,
Yes.
for the standard lot, we had talked about 450. And with the perpetual fee of $50, we did read into the perpetual fee and it's actually a maintenance fee. And we would just like to implement that into the standard lot fee and not name it as a perpetual fee.
So the recommendation was 450, and that would cover all the costs. That was what we said on our previous.
Not on the previous meeting, yes, 450 with the perpetual of 50.
So that would be a total of 500?
500, yes. So I have taken out the language of the perpetual fee and just went with the standard lot being 500, increased from 300.
There any discussion about the board?
And these rates do match our surrounding areas. We've seen them anywhere from, just to go back, Hobbs lot fee is $575 and infant $145. They do have the perpetual fee. Tatum is still down at the original for $300. Artesia is for the lot fee standard $450, infant $150. They have a perpetual fee of the $450 or $50, so it'll make them at $500 for the regular standard lot. They do have a deed reprint fee of $25 and a transfer deed lot fee of $25. JAL, regular lot $350, infant lot $150. Eunice, standard lot $500, infant $150, and a deed fee of $25. For the current surrounding areas.
Is there any discussion about the board? If there's no further discussion, I appreciate it.
So direction to move forward.
Move forward on it and we'll have it.
Yes, sir.
And the rate will be $500.
So everyone are good with the current draft? Yes, sir.
Appreciate that advice. Chief David?
Yes, sir. We're moving on to the Dawson Geographics Company. Yes, sir. I'm going to present Mr. Rick Aldridge. He's with Dawson. He will be doing a presentation today about something that he wants to discuss with the commission.
Good evening, commissioners. I'm Rick Aldridge, as was told, and represent Dawson Geophysical. We're here doing a seismograph project in Lee County, consistently of approximately 200 square miles. Lovington is partially in the chute, and we would like to have some permission and discussion on street use, road use, and whatnot. I have a certificate of insurance naming the city of Lovington as the insuree that was requested. I'll give that to Mr. Dobbs. We do have, we're very familiar with urban seismic. We've done it, all over the United States. No issues. We take care of our people wherever we go. And Mr. Patrick here is familiar with it. Dobbs, Dwight, appreciate you guys helping me out this time around. But at this time, I'd like to introduce our project manager for this job, Brian Friedenflug. He'll come up and kind of go over some of the particulars on the project.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
We do have a presentation that kind of goes through the company, the phases of geophysical operations, and then a little bit, some of the safety measures we use, which we refer to as the EPV, or peak particle velocity testing. So I don't know if you have a chance to review it and just have any questions, or if you'd like me to go through the presentation. See.
You just overall just discuss what type of work you guys do, what type of work you'd be doing in the city.
It's oil and gas exploration. And so seismic testing essentially is reflection seismic. It's kind of like essentially a sonogram of the earth. It maps the subsurface strata. The testing, or I guess if you could go to page 7. I mean, the pieces we just stepped through there are the overall operation. We come in, we lay out or deploy our equipment, and then essentially we would use the vibrators as an energy source. So what we're seeing here are the fleet of vibrators in other urban settings that we've used. On the top one is in Gillette, Wyoming. The lower one is in Fort Worth, Texas. On the next page is the recording equipment. The top one would be the equipment we would use here. It consists of a GSR recording box, battery, and 3 geophones put together. And that, the vibrators are the energy source that introduces the energy into the ground. The geophones receive that energy. Again, it's just kind of like echo technology or sonogram. So what we were requesting would be to deploy the equipment along either easements, roads, alleys, whatever's available. We would work with whoever's directed to. We would map the area and work with engineers or road managers, whatever, to on the placement of it and adequate places. And then we had proposed to fiber size certain streets that the method we use, go to page 9, peak particle velocity testing. The National Historic Preservation Act of 1966 set levels of what's safe, essentially disturbance for historic buildings and archaeological sites. That was originally set at 1 inch per second of velocity. They subsequently came back and changed that to 0.5. We, for seismic, actually use it as 0.35, and we bring in an engineering firm. If you could step to page 11. This is phase 2 of a project. We worked down in the Hobbs area before, and that's a picture of the 3D PPV testing that we did. We set the vibrators up. An engineering firm brings in essentially seismic monitors similar to ours and put them at varying distances from the vibrators. We operate the frequency of the vibrators, and they set a safe threshold to stay within that 0.35 range. And then in more of an urban setting where we'd be around inside the city limits, we would use real-time PPV monitoring. So we set a threshold that we use, but then we have an engineering firm on site with us to make sure that we're still operating within those guidelines. And then you can go to the next page. That's the data from the previous test that we did that sets those values. The next slide shows people monitoring in real time on specific projects. Again, I think those are both from Fort Worth. The next slide, we operated in the city of Washington, and they were concerned about utilities, so we actually did a plain pipe test with them. Moved in, next slide, please. And they excavated an area, and we put seismic monitors down on their clay pipes, and then we brought the vibrator in and operated at various distances. And they actually even had a camera down in one of their clay pipes to determine that if there was any changes to the structure of the pipe or the utilities themselves. They were quite pleased with it. Again, if there was some type of testing we'd like to do in the Lovington area, we'd make ourselves available for that as well.
So I got a question while we're right here on this. What kind of distance were you having to stay away from that type of, were you saying 150 yards?
Actually within, and we have the ability to turn the vibrators up and down, so we turned down about 30%. We were safe within 60 feet of surface structures. The buried structures from the Arlington test have, the engineers from that test determined that the structures, once they're buried, essentially move with the soil, so there was zero movement on it, or very, very little monitors. So surface wise, we can safely operate from the test we did down by Hobbs within 60 feet. But the actual buried utilities, we were approved in Arlington to go right over.
Really? Okay.
And again, we would be more than happy to bring, we'll have our equipment in the area, perform any kind of test to demonstrate the equipment in there. And then operating in the city, we would advertise. We've got permit agents that are working in the area, gaining service permission now, but to work in the city, we proposed to maybe run it out in the paper, let everybody know we're there, and then of course we'd use escorts. Quite often we will talk to the local authorities and actually use their sheriff or police escorts if they're available. And again, it's more communication with the city and the public, the better.
So would you say that most of your time of doing this is during business hours, 8 to 5, or you run, since you're in the city, how do you, I mean, out in the field, I realize whatever.
Sure. No, absolutely. So the equipment we deploy, we refer to it as scripting. We asked if it's programmed to turn on and turn off. We typically work daylight hours. We don't want to work at night. So great question. I mean, we obviously in urban type settings try to work off-peak times. We don't want to be out there when everybody's going to and from school or work. So we try to wait for that traffic to clear, and then, typically try to work in the middle of the day unless there's preferred time. Weekends, again, seems to be a little less traffic. So we try to accommodate that.
Well, most of us leave on the weekends anyways. Probably have to run in the city.
Again, we do have that slide in there of the equipment to deploy. I think it was back at like 7 and 8. We would look at the equipment, so that just shows what would be deployed. It would set out for 20 to 25 days probably, or roll through the whole operation.
The equipment, once it's laid out, it has to stay there because, vibrators may be 5 miles away. The equipment's still picking up data. Even when they come across, it has to stay, 5 miles past.
So is most of this like in neighborhood, is people's yards, or do you just put it on the edge of the street? How do you?
We try to use the edge of the street. The receiver equipment we're quite flexible with. It's pretty small footprint. Try slide 8, if you would, please. The top one there, that sits within like the top of this podium. So we don't get a whole lot of room to get it deployed.
Well, the only reason I asked is because the one picture showed like a guy close to a house. So
That's a PPP.
That was the actual PPV monitoring.
okay.
So we would be working, I'm sorry, if you can go back to 7 again. So, with the vibrators, we operate down the street with escorts. The equipment, if you look at the top picture there, you can see it off the side of the road. It's quite flexible it's an autonomous system. It doesn't need to be tied. Our older recording systems were all cabled together. They're not now. So each is autonomous. So we're quite flexible on where we can move that around and try to make it, out of the way obscure place. But the vibrators themselves then would be down roads or easements.
So you're looking to do the well field as well as the city limits right at the same time? We haven't done the well field yet, have we?
Yes.
So
So
it's simultaneously both.
all one project.
Is there any discussion by the board?
I met with Mr. Aldridge, and my only concern, how deep was that in the city of Arlington? Was that place out that they dug up and actually?
I wouldn't,
I'm saying I saw something.
I was gonna say 6 to 8 foot around.
Because we have quite a bit of shallow lines, but we can just, I know that we got you guys the map of actually the city streets. We definitely get you a map of some of the bigger lines and transition lines that are just shallower lines, and same thing with our AC water lines that are the vibration and everything might definitely do a toll to some of the older infrastructure that we do have in town. So most definitely.
Normally, if the lines are in the middle of the street, we're normally off to the side.
Listen,
Yeah,
and most of our, we do have the main trunk lines that are our main transmission lines, but most of our lines run in the alleys, so we could definitely do our main arterials and everything like that as far as some of the drives that you guys can definitely have a path on. But our main trunk lines are the ones that are transitions going
I propose our surveyors would meet and we can bring a map in of where certain areas we'd like to go, and then if we need to modify that accordingly. I mean, we're quite flexible and appreciate any communications we can with.
Yes, sir.
Are you doing, when did your last day?
October is.
Just because we put it in, don't mean we're going to accept it, so. It's there.
No, why?
But I do have other personnel that knows the lines and where they're at. We can definitely work something.
Good deal. Then like have that contact at some point.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions about the board?
But we really appreciate you guys' time and
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah. Thank you, Jack.
I've got a few cards here, I'd like to get around.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you, sir.
I still got all your space.
Any questions, just give us a holler. We appreciate you guys. Thanks, sir. Appreciate your presentation. Moving on to the next item on the agenda. Judge Peter.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. I want to appreciate this opportunity to speak to you. Very, very briefly, I'm just going to let you know, we've been having weekly meetings with the architects and the ALC. The courthouse is coming along very well. There's been some minor tweaks. There's the cost of materials has been going up recently. And so there's been some tweaks and a slight a slight delay in what they anticipate the opening date is going to be early 2023. This is, I understand that, these projects can certainly be delayed in terms of where we were at earlier, where we were hoping at right at the end of the year and, beginning of 2023 for the completion of the project. This isn't a drastic delay, but I thought that this would be a good opportunity also to discuss with commissioners and about the possibility of adopting a city flag for the city of Lovington, and possibly in a way that we can unveil it at the groundbreaking of our new court, our new courthouse. One of the things is that there is a community, and I've learned a lot of this over the last couple months, but there's a community of, for lack of a better way to put it, flag aficionados. It's called vexillology, and these are people who study the science, the history of the flags from their design to their symbolism. And this community is very active worldwide. And they have, like the Reddit page has 500,000 followers. And one of the things that they do is they like to design, obviously, flags. And there's a lot of members of this community that design flags. And when there is an opportunity for a real flag, rather than just doing it for fun, for a real flag to be designed, this community becomes very, very active. And there are, it does carry some attention with the international news. Just recently, I was looking this up, and the City of Council Bluffs did a redesign of their flag. The City of Lincoln, Nebraska, did a contest for a new design flag, and right now, if you look on Google for Lincoln, one of the top things you'll see is their new flag and the proposal for the new flag designs. I think New Zealand a couple of years ago did a contest for a new design flag, and it does create a lot of interest in a community. It also creates, I think, civic pride, for there to be a city flag. And I've talked to people here just before the meeting who said, yeah, if we had a city flag, I'd be happy to fly it, at my house. And needless to say, we're living in divisive times, so something that can bring people together, I think, would be a great opportunity. And a concept, I think, would be something very simple. We're not going to be asking, we're not going to be designing it ourselves, but we'll reach out to the people who really are experts in this field. And my proposal would be possibly having some of these individuals send us their proposed flags, and then maybe leaving it to the community to vote on. Maybe reaching out to the newspaper and showing them, our top designs and letting the people in the community vote on it. I also asked the county attorney in Sandoval County, a gentleman named Michael Etcherman. He spearheaded the redesign for Otero County's flag. He actually designed it himself. I think it's a real sharp looking flag. And he did a presentation for Otero County that he kind of tweaked for us to do on flag designs and communities coming up with new flags and the importance of a flag to a community. And he's online right now and has a PowerPoint and should be able to display it or share it with us, I hope.
I have my screen shared.
Hello, this is Michael. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right. So if whoever has the power could make me a presenter on this, and then I will queue up my slides.
You should be able to share his.
Where is name present?
Okay. All right. Can you see the slideshow?
Can you enlarge that?
Yes.
Yes, we're good now.
All right. Well, thank you, commissioners, for letting me speak, and thank you, David, for the introduction. As he said, I'm the county attorney in Sandoval County. I'm fairly new to that. I just spent 3.5 years as the county attorney in Otero County. I formerly lived in Lee County. I was a public defender in the Hobbs office, so I spent a great deal of time in court there in Lovington. So I'm going to, fortunately, not wearing orange in court. So, so my slideshow, I'm going to kind of talk about a number of different topics, a little bit about flag history, different families of flags, how flags are different than seals and heraldry, which are related subjects. So first of all, I have a little clip of.
Please identify this object. It appears to be the flag which disappeared from the public library last year. Correct. Now, we all know the 13 stripes are for good luck. But why does the American flag have precisely 47 stars? Because this particular flag is ridiculously out of date. The library must have purchased it during the brief period in 1912 after New Mexico became a state, but before Arizona did. Partial credit.
So it's funny, but it's not actually true. Stars are added to the American flag on July 4th after new states come in, and that was the law in 1912. So during that 6-week period between New Mexico and Arizona, there never was a 47-star flag officially, but the museum in Alamogordo has one on display. So as David said, the study of flags is called vexillology, and it's from the Latin word for the type of banners they had, which were flag-like. On the left is an illustration of one. The Nazis liked that, and so there's some pictures from Indiana Jones of them carrying similar sort of flags in the 30s. A man named Whitney Smith is the father of modern vexillology. He was the first to get a PhD in the subject. He designed the flag of the nation of Guyana in South America, and he created this huge archive of materials, which is now at the University of Texas. So the North American Vexillological Association, the flag enthusiasts David spoke of, they have a nice brochure, and I can send it to you, a nice PDF of tips of designing a flag. And they have 5 basic points, which you have listed there. Keep it simple so that a child could draw it. Like if a child draws the American flag, it may not have 50 stars, but you can tell what it is. You should have symbolism of colors and objects that are meaningful and relate to your town, that what makes it distinctive. Limit yourself to just 2 or 3 colors. You'll see later on in the presentation some flags that don't do that, that have half a dozen colors. That makes it very difficult. It makes it expensive to print and for someone to make. Never ever put your seal or your name on a flag. If you're putting your name on it, you've completely defeated the whole purpose of having a flag, which is to have a distinctive visual symbol. And try to be distinctive, or if you want, try to show relationship to other flags, and I'll show you some examples of those later. So the state of New Mexico, our flag is very simple, and the Nava people have rated it the best of the 50 state flags. It's very distinctive, it's clear, it's unique. At right is an example of like a design someone came up with that was never officially adopted, that does everything you shouldn't do. It has a weird background color, it has the state seal on it, it says New Mexico twice, it's got, in the teens, New Mexico claimed to be the Sunshine State before Florida got a hold of it. So that's a good example of what not to do. The colors of our flag, they come from Spain. King Philip II of Spain picked those colors. Philip was the grandson of Ferdinand and Isabella, who are at the top of that. His father was Charles V, whose sister Catherine of Aragon married Henry VIII, and Philip married his first cousin, Mary Tudor, Bloody Mary. So the purpose of a seal is to authenticate a document, so it should be detailed and hard to forge. And seals are meant to be examined in your hand, up close on your desk. They're not meant to be on a flag 30 foot up a pole. It's contradictory. A flag should be identifiable from a distance, and a seal is meant to be looked at up close. So here's some examples of seals, like a papal bull, and that's what papal bulls are called, that because bulla is seal in Latin. And there's some signet rings like Pope Francis is holding. And the type of seal in the corner there, that's my alma mater, the University of Cincinnati. It's what's called a vesicle seal, this sort of vertical style. So you hear the term the Great Seal. So in the United States, the Great Seal is what's on the back of the $1 bill. And a Great Seal is the seal that authenticates the government. So there you see the actual press in the State Department with Secretary of State Al Haig sealing a document. The backside of the seal was never engraved. That's the pyramid that's on the back of the $1. So the difference between a Great Seal is a Privy Seal, which that is the seal personally of the monarch, and only 2 monarchs still have that: the Emperor of Japan, which is on the right, and the King of Thailand. The document on the right is the Emperor Hirohito's surrender message in 1945. So related to flags is heraldry, which is coats of arms. And this is an example of one that belongs to the Earl Spencer, the family of the late Princess of Wales. And the language there is the unusual sort of quasi-French English language that's used to describe a seal, coat of arms. So the state flag that is pure heraldry is that of Maryland, because this is from the coat of arms of Lord Baltimore, who was the founder of the state. Another flag from heraldry is that of the District of Columbia, which takes the coat of arms of General Washington, the stripes and the stars. So a few of the terms from flags. So the hoist side is what goes is close to the flagpole, and the fly is the opposite side. The quadrant up in the upper corner is called a canton. Stripes in flag lingo are called bars, and a 5-pointed star is called a mullet. Pales are stripes in heraldry, and the field is the entire surface of the flag. And the colors I've labeled that's heraldry calls blue azure, for instance. So when you have a flag that has something on it, other than just like say stripes and geometric objects, that's called a charge, and charges deface the flag. For instance, the dragon there on the flag of Nepal, or the 3-legged figure that's the flag of the Isle of Man. So most flags are either rectangles, such as they're the state of Washington or Kosovo, or squares, such as Switzerland or the Vatican. But you do have some oddities. The flag of Ohio there, that's the one with the swallowtail, that's called a burgee, is that shape. The one in the middle there is the flag of Tampa, which has a bizarre shape. The flag of, and I'm sorry, I misspoke a moment ago. I said the flag with the dragon was Nepal, that's Bhutan. The flag of Nepal is the one there with the 2 triangles. Another oddity is Pike County, Ohio has that strange flag with the rounded edge. Another swallowtail flag there, that C with the star, that's the house flag of the shipping company that the Columbia Transportation that operated the SS Edmund Fitzgerald. Most flags have the same front and back, but there are some exceptions. The state of Oregon has a beaver on the backside of its flag. The Soviet Union, the flat black side was blank, and then like the Saudi flag, because it has writing on it, it reverses it. So the most general kind of flag is what's called a state flag or a civil flag. That is what you typically think of a flag, a country's flag, such as Estonia or Singapore. Some countries, the government itself has a flag, such as in Germany or Lithuania. two countries, Thailand and Britain, have flags for their embassies and consulates. The elephant is Thailand's flag. So flags for your naval ships, your military ships, are typically what's called a white ensign. It's a white background with the national flag in the corner. Most countries do that. An example of talking about the white ensign is here from the Falklands War, where after South Georgia was reconquered, the commander there, Brian Young, may it please Her Majesty, the white ensign flag is on South Georgia. Naval ensigns sometimes look very different than the national flag. For instance, here is North Korea, Belgium, Georgia, and the Confederacy. A red ensign is for your merchant marine, your civil ships, and in many countries it's the national flag on a red background, such as Bangladesh there or Malaysia, but sometimes it's very different. Luxembourg is landlocked but has a merchant flag, nevertheless. And then you have the strange example of Austria-Hungary, which had a civil ensign for its merchant marine, but there was no national flag because of a long story that we don't have time for tonight. War flag is your army's flag, so that's the army of the People's Liberation Army, the US Army, and Imperial Japan. A personal flag is a flag that belongs to somebody because of their office, such as the President of the United States or the President of France. The Queen, for instance, her flag is called the Royal Standard. And if you saw the movie The Queen, you know that was a big deal of why her flag wasn't flying over Buckingham Palace. And because she is queen of multiple countries, she has a different flag in each of her different realms. You have a kind of personal flag, a rank flag for officers in the military, such as admirals and generals. The last 5-star general was Omar Bradley, and the 5-star admiral was Chester Nimitz, and those are their flags. Then you have a service flag for families of those who have family in the military. A blue star means you have somebody serving, and a gold star means you lost a family member. Mrs. Alida Sullivan of Waterloo, Iowa, who's shown in the middle there, had the horrible distinction of being a 5 gold star mother. Her 5 sons all died on the USS Juno in the Battle of Guadalcanal. Shipping companies have what's called house flags. The White Star Line operated the Titanic, for instance. The K Line is the Kawasaki. Maersk is a Danish company, is the largest shipping company in the world. Here's some American flags. Some of them aren't in business anymore. The dollar flag, for instance, the Dollar Line was founded by a man named Robert Dollar, for instance. There's also a kind of signal flag where there's flags that mean letters and you can send messages. So there is Lee spelled out in signal flags. If you remember Swiss Family Robinson, when the pirates attacked, they ran up a flag to scare them off. They should have ran the Q for quarantine, meaning we have disease, which is what it meant at the time, but Q now means we are free of disease. For some reason, Disney had them run up the flag for I rather than Q. So the oldest national flag in the world is that of Denmark. It's very simple, it's distinctive, and remember the first purpose of flags was to identify ships at sea. So Denmark was very influential. All the countries in the region have similar flags with a cross on them. The simplest kind of flag is not very common, where it's just one color. The one that was very well known was Libya under Colonel Gaddafi for many years, had just simply a green field. Afghanistan briefly had a flag that was just all white, like a surrender flag. Afghanistan has had 19 flags in the 20th century, more than any country on the planet. Another simple design that's very popular is a tricolor. So you see many European countries do that. Many African countries do that. So this is the first example of families of flags. So the Pan-Slavic movement to unify all the Slavic peoples started in the 1840s. And so various countries copied the colors and design of the Russian flag, the white, blue, and red flag. So many Eastern European flags look similar. Similarly, in the Middle East, many countries copied from the flag of the Arab Revolt. This is, Lawrence of Arabia to break away from the Ottoman Empire. And like the Arab Revolt, the flag was also created in England. The Arab Revolt flag was designed by a member of Parliament, Sir Mark Sykes. In many countries in Africa have green, yellow, and red because Ethiopia, whose original flag is in the upper right corner, was the only country that wasn't occupied or colonized. So many African countries, when they became independent, used those colors to show their connection to Ethiopia. Central America was once part of one big republic, and its flag was there on the left. And so that's why most of the Central American countries have white and blue flags that look very similar. Just like there used to be a giant country in Northern South America, Gran Colombia, whose flag is there on the upper right, and the three countries that came out of it all have very similar flags. Colombia's and Ecuador's are identical, except Ecuador has the seal on it. A common motif of flags is the crescent moon. It's usually used in the Arab world, but the flag of South Carolina with the palmetto uses it. In the Southern Hemisphere, many countries have the Southern Cross, which is a constellation only visible there on it. Australia, New Zealand, it's on the flag of Brazil. The American flag, Liberia was founded by former slaves who went back to Africa, and so their flag is the Stars and Stripes. It's the Star and Stripes, and all of the county flags in Liberia have it as well. So the British flag is a combination of three flags. So the red and white cross is the cross of St. George for England. And when King James I became King of England as well as Scotland, he brought south the St. Andrew's cross, which is the white and blue cross, and superimposed them together. And then when Ireland joined the Union in 1800, they added the cross of St. Patrick, which is the diagonal red and white cross. So it's three different flags together make the British flag. And the British, typically most of their colonies, simply have a blue field, the seal of the colony, and the Union Jack in the corner. Few exceptions, the one with the wavy lines on the left is the British Indian Ocean Territory, and the one with the castle is Gibraltar. Most of their former colonies use the same pattern, so you have to know people's seals to tell any of these flags apart. Japanese flags are interesting. They look very corporate logo sort of design. Many of them have rebuses in them. So for instance, the first syllable of Hiroshima is the character, the kana called hi. So you see in the middle, that's what the character looks like, and the flag approximates that for their flag. Another example is the prefecture. Prefectures are like the equivalent of states in Japan. Toyama, so their flag is a to and a mountain. Or Miyazaki has the first syllable of that word. A corporate example you might have seen is Mitsubishi literally means 3 diamond, and that's their logo. So it's a rebus. This is an example of what I was talking about. Japan flags look very sort of corporate logo. These are the flags of the various wards of the city of Tokyo. So the flag with the ginkgo leaf, that's Tokyo, the metropolis of Tokyo. And these are various of the wards. Chiyoda is the central ward where the parliament, where the emperor's palace is, where the embassies are. Most state flags are terrible. Most state flags are, 25 of the state flags are this, the state seal on a blue background. They all look terrible. You can't tell what half of them are. A few of them decide they put the state name on there as well, like Kansas, because they know no one knows what their flag looks like. So the two worst examples are South Dakota and Idaho, which not only have the Great Seal and say Idaho, they put the state name on there as well. So it says it twice. So they double down on their problems. Here's some other state seals that aren't on a blue background. For instance, the anchor, one with the anchor, this is Rhode Island. In Georgia, and with the upper right, which looks like the Confederate flag. These are some of the flags that are good. Like I said, the vexillology people think New Mexico's is the best flag, but these others are very distinctive. The white and red cross is Alabama. The red field with the 3 stars is Tennessee. The palmetto tree is South Carolina. The one with the big C on it is Colorado. Then Texas, and then Alaska has the Big Dipper on it. So here's an example of what not to do. Okay, so this has way too many things on it. It has way too many colors. It's got the name, it's got a date, it's got a piece of wheat, it's got the Indian from the test pattern on it. It's got it's got several other flags if you look at it. It's just like, this is, it's like a case study not to do any of these things. It's got a very detailed, no one could redraw this flag from memory, no one. Most city flags have these problems. Like, this is the flag of New York. This is the Dutch colonies, Dutch flag, because New York was once Dutch, but then they put the seal on, and the seal's got a windmill, an Indian, a date. It's got writing in Latin on it. Terrible. Los Angeles would be really good if it didn't have the seal. The jagged edges, the color scheme, it's very distinctive, but that seal is a problem. Chicago has the best big city flag. Everybody loves it. You see it all the time. Cops will have it on their coffins and they go to funeral. I bought some macaroni in the store, and it was from a company in Chicago. On the back of it, it had the Chicago flag on it. Everybody loves Chicago's flag. It's great. It's distinctive. It's simple. Looks like nobody else, and they resisted the temptation to use seals or put their name on it. Houston, seal on a bed sheet. And Phoenix is distinctive. It kind of looks like the Japanese flags. It's unusual, the purple color. Purple was rarely ever used in flags because until recently, purple dye was very expensive. This is why purple was the color of royalty, because it only came from certain mollusks and things. But now through chemistry, we can make purple easy. So here's some city flags, some good, some bad. The one with the sun over the mountains, that's Denver. The one that kind of looks like a Nordic cross with the green and blue and yellow, that's Portland, Oregon. And below it is Indianapolis, which symbolizes the city itself, because in the center of town, there's a giant traffic circle around the monument. So it's emblematic of the city. The one next to it that has the Zia symbol on it, for some reason, is Wichita, Kansas. Don't know why. St. Louis with the rivers joining together. Above it is Cincinnati. Baltimore, remember the Maryland flag with the family heraldry of Lord Baltimore? They copied it on their flag. And then you have some that are not so good. Boston has the seal, and plus it's got Latin on it. Fort Worth, maybe if it just had the Longhorn, it'd be all right. And Detroit's is way too busy. It's trying to get heraldry, and it's got the seal. New Mexico County flags generally are the seal on a bed sheet. Colfax County would be pretty good, the purple, if they didn't have the seal on it. Most of the city flags follow the same thing. Roswell is the one that looks like it was done on a Mac in 1987 in the lower corner. The one with the crosses in a sunburst, that's Cruces, Las Cruces. It's very nice. I come from Ohio originally, and many of our county flags are terrible. They have the name on it, they've got the seal. The one in the upper left is the county I'm from, called Warren County. That's the Eiffel Tower on it, because there's an amusement park there that has a replica of the Eiffel Tower. The one below it is Greene County. I used to work there. That's the county courthouse. So it's got all this stuff, and that's the Wright brothers plane that looks like it's about to fly into the courthouse. Dark County is terrible. All those little stars have writing in it, listing all of the townships in it. You'd never be able to reproduce that. That's terrible. Here's some other ones. One is really good, Brown County. That's a tobacco leaf in it, because they grow tobacco in it. And that brown color makes it very distinctive and unique. But most of them, for some reason, Ohio, they want to put the seal or they want to put a map on it. Don't do that. Our Indian friends in New Mexico, many of their flags have the same issue. It's a seal on a background. Like the Jicarilla Apache, if it didn't have the seal, those big dots and that would be really cool. The Navajo one is the rainbow on it, and it's got a map and it's got their seal, and it has a half a dozen elements in that seal. It's very hard to identify that. It's got their sacred mountains on it. If they maybe stuck to the rainbow and the sacred mountains, that would be really cool. The Sandia Pueblo has the interesting flag. Sandia is watermelon in Spanish, and it supposedly their mountain looks like that with the sunset glowing on it. So here's a few more tribal flags, a lot of seals. And here's a couple examples of cities that had terrible flags and went to something better. So proud to be Pocatello. You know, it's got this weird clip art graphic. It's got a trademark symbol, a copyright notice, all this writing. It's terrible. and they went to this new flag of mountain with the sun rising on it. Provo, Utah had this logo that looks like the Centrum Silver Vitamin logo, and they went to this much more attractive mountain on a blue field. So the 5 points again, I said, keep it simple. You know, a child should be able to draw it. Use symbolism that relates to your town. You know, don't, and just pick a few things. Stick to 2 or 3 colors. Don't put your name on it. Don't put any writing. Don't put the seal. And try to be distinctive, or if you want to, you know, incorporate something like the Zia sun symbol, but don't just copy. So David mentioned the Otero County flag. This is what we came up with. The white is for the white sands in Otero County. The turquoise is the mineral, which is the state mineral of New Mexico, and it is found in Otero County. And then it's an homage to the state flag with the yellow and the red with the Zia sun symbol. So that's my story. I'm sticking to it. I'd be happy to try to answer any questions, or if not, talk to any of you privately later on. So I appreciate you letting me speak.
We appreciate it.
So I'll just really briefly wrap up. I think it'd be great to try and get us a city flag, and how we go about it. You know, like I said, I thought whether we did like a national or international contest. I mean, there's a part of me that thought it'd be really neat picturing this vexillology, you know, buff in, you know, in Paris or in, you know, somewhere in the world doing research on Lovington to help design a flag for us. You know, the Lincoln contest I told you about, the people who enter that have to have some sort of tie to the city. But whatever, you know, whatever the commissioners, mayor, whatever you thought would be a way to go about it, I would just be excited to get a new flag. And I think that the contest would be a way to really not only get our community, but, you know, really to put our name in the map all over the world as people start to learn about our community to hopefully maybe help us design a flag. So thank you.
Appreciate that, Judge. I think further discussion would be appropriate for this. I guess it's laying down the groundwork for it right now, have a little insight of what we can do, and have some more discussion before we make a decision if we want to have a flag. Anybody else want to comment on that?
Well, I'm just wondering, because I believe that Main Street with the wayfinding, didn't you have an architect come in and do drawings as far as
on the court?
The wayfinding signs?
I'm sorry.
The wayfindings are through the Main Street.
Right, to the Main Street.
Correct.
Right, and I thought maybe about incorporating something with that.
We could work with the her design team. I don't know exactly what company it was that they used, but I'm sure we could probably work together.
So they have an architect come in and do drawings
Yes,
and
sir.
everything, and they could incorporate a little bit of that. and
Correct.
some other
I believe
ideas.
they're at a hub, so I'll reach out to Mike. Yes, sir.
Judge, what you do is that entering Main Street, we would have a statue right there.
Okay.
Exit in. Actually, there's also a structure, both of them are oil field related. They're pretty nice, so hopefully we'll be implementing that soon. That's what Commissioner Volk was referring to. Is there any other discussion? There's no other discussion on that. We'll move on to action item. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for resolution 2021-077, approval of contracts with Lee County DWI office and the Lovington Police Department.
Motion was made by Commissioner Gandy, second by Commissioner Volk. David?
Yes, sir. This contract, we do it basically every year with the exception of last year due to the COVID and stuff. What happens, they collect some funds, they're distributed amongst the municipalities to conduct extra DWI patrolling in the areas that we are either having a lot of DWI crashes or arrests. All that does is whatever we spend on overtime projects for that project itself for DWIs, we fill out the reimbursements and they give it right back to us. Yes, sir. And so the total amount that we were awarded is $8,064.50.
There any discussion about the bill? Appreciate that. David? There's no further discussion, roll call vote, Shannon.
Commissioner Compost,
Yes.
Commissioner Gandy,
Yes.
Commissioner Booster,
Yes.
Commissioner Bowe,
Yes.
Mayor Trujillo.
Yeah. Resolution passes. Do I have a motion?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a resolution or motion for resolution 2021-078, approval of transfer of property located at 1002 South Commercial, Lovington, New Mexico, Lee County.
Second.
Motion was made by Mr. Bernard, second by Commissioner Compost. David?
Yes, sir. Like we've discussed several times on the property, obviously it's the street department and the convenience station. The county approached us several months ago trying to get this going. We had a discussion in the last commission meeting. And I was instructed to put it back on the agenda for an action item today. The property itself actually sits on 11 acres, so it will have to be subdivided or platted, should I say. The county is aware of that. The only way that they will take possession of that is they are going to conduct a environmental study on it. That is one thing that they requested. It's going to be paid by them. The city will obviously have to do the replatting. Basically, that's the only difference from what we've discussed here lately. So the cost for the city is going to be the replatting. Mike is here from the county as well, if you have any additional questions or anything else you might want to add.
Yes, sir.
I don't have a question. Mayor, Commissioners, I do have one other, and during the replat and everything else, we do have our main water line that actually does come off of our booster and come up through that property. So during that time, I know during the replat surveying and everything else, it will just need to be given an easement for those current water lines that are in there. And I know we can definitely work that out with commission and everything else. Or county commission. They're running right then from the booster coming west and then coming out the back gate. They actually tee off, come back. So.
Yeah, the replatting involved removing the ball fields from that.
That's correct.
The Little League fields.
Those little fields right next to it, that's also included on that same plat.
Yeah. Removal of that, so it's 15 yards.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I just had a question for Wyatt. I know during our discussion, we brought up the idea of possibly offering the county some other property off of Stiles Road. Was that ever presented to them?
We, Commissioner, we did discuss that in our initial conversations, but that is something that's a little bit too far out for them. Mike is standing up now. I guess I need to touch and he'll talk to you about that. How's that?
Okay, thank you.
So Mayor, Commissioners, thank you this evening and thank you for having this item on your agenda for your consideration. First, let me start by saying that your staff, Wyatt, Duncan, and David, both of them have been really helpful to work with on this project. And I do wish them the best of luck with their future endeavors. So a little bit of a background. As you know, the county, we have maintained and own and maintain more than 1,200 miles of roadway. So, and our road department is currently based in Hobbs. That's one item. The next item is that the county, we currently own and operate the convenience center. We have one in Hobbs, by the rural road department. It's open 7 days a week and it's free of charge for any resident within Lee County to bring their dump, their materials, their waste. We take it free of charge. And that's open 7 days a week and we don't charge that facility. The facility on commercial for the county, it checks a couple boxes. One, it provides for the county a space that would allow us to stage some of our road department equipment as we look at addressing some of the needs of the roads in the northern part of the county, be it for maintenance or be it for maybe inclement weather. So that's an item. Next, in terms of the convenience station that Lovington currently operates, we will look at, if the property is transferred to the county, we will look at operating that in the same way that we operate the facility
that we refer to as the North House facility. Again, it's free to the public. It's open 7 days a week. We don't close at any time, like during the middle of the day for anything. So we would look at taking people's refuge, their yard waste, you know, basically anything for non-commercial purposes. And we think it would be good for us, us being the county and all the residents in Lake County, including the residents of Lovington. We like that location. One, people in Lovington are already familiar with bringing their waste to that location. So we like that. Second, it already has a good footprint in terms of the perimeter fencing, and there's electric there, and we like that as well. So, and third, it's off of, you know, the truck bypass. So it's a good location for us to get to, moving our road equipment in or out as needed. So it hits some of those good targets for us. Another item, if we were able to own this facility, we would do our best to ensure that there's a seamless transition so that there wouldn't be an interruption in services, allowing the public to, you know, take their waste there. And then if we take a different location, then there's the cost of excavating and clearing and preparing, you know, a vacant piece of property versus one that's currently already set up for that type of service. So we stand for any questions that the mayor or the board may have.
Is there any questions about it?
Oh, you know, she knows it good well. In my opinion, no.
Commissioner Coppell, do you have any questions?
No, I appreciate that for Mr. Gallagher. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
I like the plan. I really appreciate the county for investing in Lovington, as well as being a good partnership with Lovington. I appreciate you guys bringing it forward for us, citizens of Lovington, making it more convenient for them to dump stuff. I know the city of Lovington, we now offer only 4 days a week. Our hours are short that period of time. I look at it as a positive for Lovington, you know, giving up a yard, 7 acres is a lot, somewhat a little bit to swallow, but I believe the outcome of it is for the betterment of our community. And one aspect of it has employment for some of our residents here. That's the convenience of being able to go dump 7 days a week instead of dumping in the alley or dumping off Reed Road or something like that, which I've seen a lot of. I also believe that the beautification of that area would be well enhanced and as Mike said previously, the investment in the county's is going to apply there. So I really encourage support to move forward on it. I believe it at least give us opportunity to about 4 months. By the time it's everything said and done, we'd have about 4 months to find a yard adequate to put our whatever assets we have on there and move to another location. Like I made the comment before, we have plenty of property here in town that we can invest in, that we can do some upgrades as well. So we have a lot of acreage outside the city limit. So I think as a convenience for the community, I'd like to serve communities 7 days a week with free dumping. And currently Lovington does charge for ours. Stand for any other issue.
If we do approve this, we will have a contract, right?
Contract. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay,
That'll come back to y'all for y'all's approval on that part of it.
okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Still a little bit process. I think as you state, apply it and so forth.
Yeah, we didn't want to invest any money until we knew what way the city commission was going to go or any more time. And then once we do that, we'll sit down with Mr. Gallagher and move forward on this.
Further discussion. Yes.
So, Mayor and Commissioners, I wanted to add that we've already looked at sort of what improvements or how we would Because what we would look at adding to the facility, we've come up with about $600,000 worth of improvements to the facility that the county would be investing in, to try and make the facility just, the way that would more resemble what we have in the North Hobbs area. So I think that would be something worth noting. We're not looking at, again, charging the city of Lovington, because we would, the residents, we would need to work out, I guess, the purchase agreement. I think Commissioner Bolt, what you're referring to, and so I want to take this, if the board approves this evening, just so you know, it will go before the county commission for acceptance and their action at their October board meeting. And any questions that the board may have? We'll also be looking at having recycling. So we have recycling now at our North Hobbs. Talking to Lorenzo Velasquez and our staff, that's something that would also allow us to do. We have oil recycling at our North Hobbs location. We have tire recycling. We have a number of different recycling that residents countywide take advantage of, and that's good to keep stuff out of our landfill, which Lovington is a member of. So I think what we can do here is kind of mirror what we're doing there, and I think it's a win-win. So, thank you very much.
Appreciate that.
Yes.
Is there any further discussion about the board? There's no further discussion about the board. Roll call. Shannon?
Commissioner Bolt,
Yes.
Commissioner Compost,
Yes. Yes.
Gandy,
No.
Archer,
Yes. Yes. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for resolution 2021-079, approval of senior citizen ICIP for 2023 through 2027. Second.
Motion was made by Commissioner Gandy, second by Commissioner Bolt.
I'll turn it over to Commissioner Dobbs.
We'll be doing the same thing we do with the city of Livingston ICIP. And we'll prioritize 1 through 5, which one y'all would like, or if y'all would like to add any more to this list. I have Faye here if you have any questions, but it's pretty much up to you guys to prioritize what projects y'all would like.
Okay, can you speak out and also any feelings you have on your recommendation on the top aisle, please?
We've had problems with our flooring. Our tiles have been coming up. There's some tiles around the doors that are water damaged. So we are needing to get our flooring repaired or replaced. We need the blacktop and the sidewalks repaired as well. We have some tripping hazards for the seniors that we would like to remedy. We have a walk-in freezer and refrigerator that is they were installed in 1993. That makes the appliances 26 or 27 years old. And they're getting obsolete and past through. I mean, they're still working, but the compressors are working very, very hard to keep them going. So that would be another consideration that we would need. We have 2 aging vans that will need to be replaced eventually. And then we do have serious door and door frame issues that do need to be repaired, either replaced or repaired.
Is that the order you're asking?
I would ask for the door repairs first.
You can go ahead and name off your 5.
Then the refrigerator and the freezer, the sidewalk and blacktop repair, and then the flooring and then the van.
so I need to adjust my motion.
Okay, we appreciate you picking the top five. Is there any discussion on the five she's recommending to the board?
I think it sounds great.
There's no discussion on that. Would you like to amend your motion, Commissioner
Yes,
Gandy?
I'd like to amend my motion and adjust it to where the ICIP reads the door frame and read it. The door frame, number one, and then the walk-in refrigerator was number two. The sidewalks were number three. The flooring, and then the vans.
Did you?
Not all.
Vote, no vote.
Just. Motion was amended and seconded by Bo. There's no further discussion. Roll call vote, Shannon.
Commissioner Butcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Compost,
Yes.
Commissioner Gandy,
Yes.
Commissioner Bowe,
Yes.
Commissioner Blumer.
Yes. Resolution passes. Do I have a motion?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion for resolution 2021-080, approval of contract for medical director for the Lovington Fire.
Motion was made by Commissioner Gandy, seconded by Commissioner Bo. Chief, Fire Chief.
Mayor and Commissioners, we're required to have a medical director. They're the oversight for the EMS side of the fire department. This is a contract, generally about a 3-year contract. Dr. Homer has been our medical director ever since before I started with the fire department. So well over 16 years, he's been our medical director. And so we need to redo his contract, and it's, as you can see, it's a $5,000 a year contract for them, and this is a 3-year.
Is there any discussion about the order? There's no discussion about the order. Roll call vote, Shannon.
Commissioner Bowe,
Yes.
Commissioner Butcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Gandy,
Yes.
Commissioner Compost,
Yes.
Mayor Trujillo.
Yes. Resolution passes. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to accounts payable.
Second.
Second.
Motion was made by Commissioner Bo, seconded by Commissioner Gandy. Commissioner Dodd?
The only big items I have on here is probably the 26,000 for the Onyx Enterprise. It's the yearly contract we have with the Taser and Exxon.
It's our taser program. We're on a 5-year contract. I believe this is the last year for it. And we'll go back out for rebid again. That covers anything from anything that goes wrong with the weapon itself, they'll replace it. If they can't fix it, at the end of the 5-year contract, they'll replace all of those tasers as well as the cameras. So basically, we're leasing them until the end of the life cycle. Right now, what we had was with our Fire Patrol Division and our detectives and the lieutenants were outfitted with it. So 27, that's what we have allotted. Yes, sir.
Power. Set power.
I believe that is our,
Yes, Dr.
Mayor and Commissioners, that's going to be the engine replacement that we had on one of the fire trucks. It actually blew a head gasket and cracked the block.
Unique. That is,
I can address for that one, Unique Vacuum Services. Our hill lift station was down for probably about 5 months, or actually 5 weeks, sorry. right about fair time, and it controls the whole side of town. On the east side of Commercial, we actually had unique vacuum services come in and suck out that lift station twice a day to help relieve those pumps and to keep the side of town going. Currently, right now, we are having one pump being built with Odessa pumps, and they're trying to locate another pump because the other pump was totally worn out to be on repair. So we still are currently going over with our vacuum truck, sucking it out twice a day to relieve it.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Campos, do you have any other questions?
I think I'm good right now, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
There's no further discussion on accounts payable. Roll call, Shannon.
Commissioner Butcher,
Yes.
Commissioner Bowe,
Yes.
Commissioner Gandy,
Yes.
Commissioner Compost,
Yes.
Mayor Trujillo.
Yes. Accounts payable are paid. I'd like to set up a meeting for, when's the earliest, can we have that meeting? Would that be Wednesday, at the earliest?
Thursday.
Thursday at 5:30 p.m. with 5:30.
This Thursday?
Yes.
I can get back to you.
Okay.
Can't say that. Yeah, I'll give it to you.
Okay. Commissioner Campos, you think you can make a 5:30 meeting Thursday?
I'm out of town right now. I don't have my schedule in front of me, but I'll check and advise.
Okay, and if possible, you can just call in. I was just going to go over the two presentations so we could get direction from the board on that.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, the earliest we can do it is Thursday.
I should be able to call in if I'm out.
Okay,
Thank you.
appreciate that. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we adjourn.
I second that.
Motion was made by Commissioner Campos, seconded by Commissioner Gandy. Is there any further discussion? No further discussion, roll call vote, Shannon.
Commissioner Gandy,
Yes.
Commissioner Butcher,
Yes.
Compost,
Yes.
Commissioner Bowe,
Yes.
Mayor Trujillo.
Yeah. Meeting adjourned. Thank you all.
Good evening, guys and ladies.
Yeah. All right.